Hey guys, I have another art journal page to share with you today. This is the page we're going to be doing, and I'm starting out with my Dina Wakley Media Heavy Body Acrylic Paint in Night, Elephant, Lime, Blackberry Violet, Peacock, and Sky. And I'm working in my hand-bound watercolor mini journal, and I'm just going to start by slapping those colors down all over the place. No rhyme or reason really to it. I actually based this background off of an iCat I did, I think last year, could have been 2 years ago, um, that has like these same colors in the same way in the background that I was a really big fan of. Of course, it didn't turn out near at all like I liked how it it turned out differently. Okay, so I'm putting my colors down. I'm trying to be a little mindful of colors that don't mix well when they go together, like that purple and that green kind of make a color I'm not that crazy about, so I'm trying not to mix them together too well. And I'm also trying to add some darker areas like around the edges. I'm going to add a little bit of night in there to darken it up. And then I'm going to kick it into hyperspeed because this took me quite a long time, but I want you to see my exact process and where I put all the colors and everything. So I dried that first layer that I applied with a paintbrush, and now I'm going to apply a second layer with my fingers. And it just helps to smooth things out, and I just like the organic way the paint looks when you use your fingers. And then I'm going to try to bring back some of my white space by adding a layer of, this is actually white paint, not gesso. I found an almost empty bottle of Dina Wakley white paint. So that's what this is. And I had a hard time covering up that blackberry, so I went in with a few layers. And then I'm going to take this stencil by Dina Wakley. It's called Affirmations. I've come to find out, someone asked me in the last video what it was called, and man, it took me a long time to figure out what this was called. I guess because it's an older one, but it's called Affirmations, so now that's something that I won't forget. So I'm just going to go in with my elephant, and not so that you can read the words really, or like the full quote or whatever, but just to get some background interest going on. And then I'm going to take this teardrop stencil, also by Dina Wakley, and the Sky. And when I do stenciling, I like to do it one of two ways. The way I usually do it is I take the same stencil and I just use different colors of paint. And that helps create like cohesion and this and that. But I also, if I'm going to use different stencils like I did here, I try to use a color that's already going on in the background. So I use the sky and the elephant, and they are both already in the background. Now that's not to say it wouldn't look just as great with the color that's not in the background. This is just the way I like to do it. But now that I said that, I should probably try adding a new color. So we'll try that next time. Okay, so once I'm done with my stenciling, I'm going to go all around the edges with a makeup sponge and that night color, just to kind of frame it in, and yeah, just to frame it in. And then to work on my focal image, now I could make backgrounds all day, guys. Like, I seriously really struggle with focal images or clusters or whatever you want to call them. Backgrounds are my jam. I should probably just make like a whole journal of backgrounds. Well, then I guess they wouldn't be backgrounds. Okay, so I took this Dina Wakley collage sheet. It's this sheet had like 4 faces on it, and this is just one of them. And I'm going to use my Collage Page mat to slap her down. And once I put her down, I really wasn't sure where to go from there. I mean, it would have been fine just like that. But I wanted to kick it up a notch. So I added the same image, but in white. Her papers, they come in like white and black printed. So I just took the white and I kind of offset it a little. I brought it down a little bit. So it was almost like the black underneath was a little bit of a shadow, and you could see the white on top. And then I tore her face because I'm a walking calamity. When I was trying to rip her out of her page, her face tore right down the eyeball there. So I thought, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to make it look like her face is torn. And so I added these stitches, and I left the edge like flapping around there. And now it did go through my spread from the other day, but I don't really care. It's my art journal. It doesn't really bother me at all. So I thought my plan was to leave like where the white tissue is, to leave it white and kind of like muted, and then add a whole bunch of bold color like in between the torn parts. But we'll get to that. Before we get to that, I'm going to do some journaling down here in the lower left. I have my Fude Ball pen. It must be getting empty because it wasn't writing that well. And I mean, this pen is so good. It writes over paint. It's one of my favorites, that and the Posca. But it's usually writes really smooth, and the the ink is really juicy, but I was having a hard time. So, okay. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to go in with some scribble sticks on her face, and this is where you're going to see me really struggling. I wanted her face to be super colorful, and I should have known not to start out with scribble sticks because, you know, you add water so they get kind of like watercolor-ish and translucent, you know? So I put down some turquoise, some fuchsia, some tangerine, and I just laid down a little color, and then I activated it with some clean water on my paintbrush. I'm also using some Neocolor 2s because they're also there in my basket, so I'm just using them interchangeably. I have a turquoise Neocolor 2, and that's when at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to get these bold colors I want, so I'm going to lay down a layer of sand to give her like a nice base coat layer. And I'm going to put that all over her face. And then I'm also going to add a little bit, excuse me, guys, a little bit of the umber scribble stick for a little bit of shadow, but it didn't matter because I covered it up anyway. So I dried that layer, and then to make those scribble sticks more intense, I'm just going to dip the tips in clean water, and that really gets the pigment activated and pigmented, and then I can draw on my page and get a way more intense color than I'm able to if I just put the color on the page and then activate it with water. So I was thinking she was looking a little alienish because when you make a face blue, you run the risk of it looking alienish. And that's how she looked to me. She looked a little weird. So I thought I'd add a nice bold pop of lime, and then that didn't really work out for me. So I kind of like smeared it out a little, and add a little bit more of the fuchsia, bringing it up over her head there. And I'm taking my Neocolor 2, and I'm going to add some like little teardrop thingies coming from her eye with water. And I'm going to hold my book up so it like drips down. And the colors underneath are going to reactivate when I add that water, but I don't really care too much. So then when I was semi-happy, I'm not going to say happy because I wasn't altogether happy with the way her face came out, but I'm going to go over all those lines with a fine tip Posca paint pen in black, and I'm just going to scribbly-ish scribble those lines scribble those lines back in. And there was some journaling across her hair there. I'm going to add that back in. And then I probably could have left it alone, but I felt like I needed to keep going. So I took this tag that I had prior to this, put some of the scribble sticks on, and I cut little hearts out of them, and I popped 3 in each corner, and then I ran that through my sewing machine. And I tried to choose colors that would like stand out, like over the blue there in the upper left, I chose like pink and orange so it would like kind of stand out. And those ones I outlined in black, but not the other ones, and I really don't know why. I probably got distracted. So I'm gonna add some black splatters as a finishing touch, and that is it for my torn face chick. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for all of your encouraging comments on my last video. They really helped me, obviously, because I'm coming out with another video right away. But it's been a bit of an adventure getting back in the swing of things. So, again, I hope everyone's staying healthy and safe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye, guys.